In the fleeting moments of a journey, poet Kamala Das captures a profound realization. Her mother, once strong and vibrant, now seems fragile, her face ashen like a fading memory. As we glimpse the emotional depth of Kamala Das's My Mother at 66, we're reminded of the universal fear of losing loved ones and the passage of time. Now, let's deep dive into an end-to-end analysis of the poem, exploring its themes, symbolism, and the poignant emotions that make this work a timeless reflection on aging and separation.
So flavor of the soil means when you read something, you feel like you are in that particular place. For example, if it's a flavor of the soil in India, it feel like you are in India. If you read Ruskin Bond stories, you feel that everything he's describing is India. You have no confusion that it can be set somewhere in Europe, right? Or if you are reading something which you read, Enid Blyton stories, when you were children, the flavor of the soil was definitely European and British at that. So that is what flavor of the soil is. This is a poem without a full stop. I mean, you might say that it ends, but at the end you have ellipsis. You do not have full stop. This is one single sentence. When I first read the poem, for me this was at least mind blowing. It was like Shankar Mahadevan's song, Breathless. And this is mind blowing because it is poetic. It's 100% poetry. And I'll show you why this is poetry. It has got the aesthetics of poetry, but it doesn't pause. There's no full stop. We will deal with why there's no full stop later on. But now we are going to go from line to line. Driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning. So, a lot of people ask you where she was going, and people come and answer me because, it comes in the exam sometimes. Where were they going? And people say they were going to Cochin. Were they going to Cochin? Driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning. This person is not going to Cochin. This person is going to the airport there. Where is she coming from? From her home. Her final destination is not Cochin. She's just going there to take a flight. In those days, you didn't have as many airports as you have now. And even now, you cannot just be in a town and say, oh, I'll catch a flight. You'll have to go to the nearest town that has an airport. What did she see on the way? I saw my mother beside me. Doors, open mouth, her face ashen like that of a corpse. They have taken a car. There's a driver. They're probably seated back seat, side by side, looking outside the window. That's what you do on a long drive. She happened to turn around, look at her mother, and what does she see? That her mother was dozing. People who become oldish, they have less energy. When they have less energy, they are prone to dozing off. If you have seen old people, you might have seen that they sometimes doze off. She was open mouth. When you sleep, sometimes your mouth opens when your lower jaw drops because the muscles that are holding it tight, they slacken. And that second bone is actually loose. We keep our mouth closed all the time, and we are doing this for a very, very long time, even in our sleep, by keeping the muscles tight and taut. But sometimes when we are suddenly frightened or surprised, then we lose control on those muscles, and the jaw drops. So don't be say when people are surprised, you are gaping. It also happens when you see a beautiful looking girl on the street or a good looking guy on the street. Jaw drops. In English, there is a saying, jaw dropping moment. So that is all because, now why has her mother's jaw dropped? Because she's asleep. She's in such deep sleep that she has lost the control on her jaw muscles. Her face ashen like that of a corpse. Look at the imagery. I said that it has got the aesthetics of poetry. Poetry comes alive with imagery. What is imagery? It helps you to visualize. Words helping you to visualize actual scenes in great detail. So we have here, have you ever noticed that a corpse is not really ashen? Corpse becomes phakashe because the blood stops pumping. The heart stops. The blood is not pumping anymore. So that nice cherubic reddish feel that is there to our glowing skin, that is not there. But would you call that ashen, like ash color? No. But take the two words together, ashen here, corpse here. when she was Kamala Das, if she were talking about a corpse, what are you to do with the corpse? What are you going to do with it? Burn it, cremate it? We don't use the word burn, we use the word cremate, which basically means burning it. So when people ultimately die, wise people, they have this saying, dust to dust, ashes to ashes, which means you rose from the dust and you will go back to dust. You rose from the ashes and you will go back to ashes, right? You were nothing, born, you will live, and then one day you will be returned to where you came from. So with this ashen like that of a corpse, which I don't know whether you have realized it, is a simile. The word like in this comparison between ash and corpse, or her mother and the corpse, not ash and corpse, her mother and the corpse. So doors open mouth, her face ashen like that of a corpse, amazing imagery. Now she is reminded of a corpse and realized with pain that she was as old as she looked. Realized with pain that she was as old as she looked. And here, as old as she looked, we've got our second simile. But soon put that thought away and looked out at young trees sprinting, merry children spilling out of their homes. So I'm going to distract myself by looking out of the car. There are n number of things happening along the road. Let's just look at all of that. So basically distracting yourself, trying to find something else outside to take up your mind. You are doing that to distract yourself, but are you able to do it properly? Are you really distracted, or are you still thinking about that same old thing? You're looking outside but thinking about the same thing. That's what happens. So there's no reason to believe that she was really distracted. But let's say that she was trying not to think about her mother dying. So what is she looking at? What does she see outside? She sees young trees sprinting. Normally, trees cannot move, but human beings can. And when we make trees look like human beings and give human qualities and attributes to them, what do we call that? Personification. So we have a ripe, nice personification here. Young trees are sprinting all over the place. Also, at the same time, can I call that imagery? Does it create images in your head of trees flying past the car, going at great speed in the opposite direction? The next thing she sees, merry children spilling out of their homes. So basically what you're talking about is it gushing out, right? There's just too much of it inside. It's fighting to get out, right? Every drop of water jostling with the other drop of water to just go out. In both of these, young trees sprinting, merry children spilling out of their homes, can you show me the common thread? Energy, vivacity. And now if she is looking at energy and vivacity here, and what does she see just beside her? The complete opposite, lack of energy. Can you see this? Paint, this is a line. You have to make this line smaller, but you cannot touch it. So you do this. That line has automatically become smaller. So what have we done here? We have used comparison. So how do you know how old and how devoid of energy her mother is? By contrasting her with young trees. See, the trees are young as opposed to her old mother. And these trees are showing energy. They are sprinting as opposed to her old mother. And then merry children. So merry is the mood that contrasts the poet's mood right now. The poet is anything but merry. I mean, who would be merry if they thought that their mother is not going to be with them for very long? And then children, like young trees, we now have children. This gives us a contrast with the old mother again, spilling out of their homes. So much energy. Now, merry children spilling out of their homes. Other than imagery, what do you find here? What literary device? Metaphor. So we've got a metaphor. But after the airport security check, standing a few yards away, I looked again at her, wan pale. Now, if you have traveled by any kind of airlines nowadays, you will not be able to identify with this. Why? Because after the security check, you are not allowed to come back and say hello to the people who have come to see you off. You say goodbye to them, then you move forward, check in your luggage, go through the security check, and go and wait for the aircraft. That's what happens. But in the olden days, they used to allow people to do the security check, baggage and everything gone, and then you can come back. There is a barrier. you can come back and you can say your final goodbyes. So at the airport, once again, she looks at her van, pale as a late winter's moon. So what does van mean? Means pale. So why would somebody put van when they have already put pale? Right, the paleness. This is also very death-like. As a late winter's moon. Oh, I love it. Imagery. But then again, there is simile here as a late winter's moon. This is our third simile. We've had one metaphor and three similes. Now, late winter's moon. First of all, let's take the moon. What color is it generally? White. Pale. The moon is pale. As simple as that. Pale white. Now, winter's moon. When I talk about winter, and we are obviously talking poetry, what does winter normally signify? End of a cycle, right? A cycle of seasons ends with winter, begins with spring. So it can mean death, it can mean old age. All of this is winter. Actually, autumn is old age. Winter would be the end of that cycle. So winter's moon. But we are talking about the late winter's moon. So the moon normally every season, the moon has a cycle, right? Every 28 days, there's a cycle. At the late stage, when the cycle is about to end, how does the moon look? Almost not there. It's hardly visible in the sky. It's just vestige of the moon. This is the late winter's moon. And that's what her mother looked like. And everybody knows what the next stage for the moon is. There is no moon. So winter, a late moon, she is signifying, she's trying to use these words to signify death, and felt that old familiar ache, my childhood's fear. Every child, you people were children at one point in time. You're no longer children. When you were children, think about class 2, 3. Could you bear the thought of your mother or father not being there, of something happening to them? It is very, very hurting to think about that. It is almost unbearable. If such a thought occurs to you, you would either probably go running and hug them, or you'd probably offer a silent prayer to God that nothing should happen to them. Waning moon and van and the moon together, yes, definitely. That's an excellent observation. Now, she calls this a familiar ache because she has faced this before as a child. Only this time, it was much closer to the truth. And all I said was, when somebody says, all I said was, it means that somebody is helpless, right? I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. See you soon, Amma. Flavor of the soil for there for you. See you soon, Amma. All I did was smile and smile and smile. 3 times the word smile has been repeated. It ends with an ellipsis. What does that tell you? Repetition, yes, but what is the repetition all about? Why repeat the word smile? She is trying to reassure her mother that they'll see each other again. It's a false hope. Maybe she's also trying to reassure herself somewhere that she's going to see her mother again, though she knows that it might just be false hope. And repeating the word smile and smile and smile also tells you that she's absolutely helpless. There's just nothing else that she can really do. She's powerless against nature. Now, obviously, people will say, then why didn't she? I mean, the whole fear is that she is going away from her mother. She doesn't really know whether when she comes back, her mother will be there or not. So why doesn't she just decide not to go? She can be with her mother a little bit longer, go back to her work. Maybe she has a family out there, maybe a husband and children. They have become a big part of her life. They cannot do without her. So this presents what I like to say, call a conundrum. Imagine your mother. Imagine your grandparents living somewhere else. Imagine your mother. Your grandparents need her. You are, let's say, 5 or 6 years old. What does your mother do? Leave you and go to her parents, to whom she owes everything, right? Leave you and go to them. Not go and stay with you, you who means everything to her. You mean everything to her. What is she going to do? What are you going to do? I mean, you might be reading this poem now, little realizing that this is the future. You will be faced with conundrums like this. What are you to do? Whichever option you take is the wrong option. There is no right option. Whichever option you take There's only heartbreak, nothing else. And we human beings can identify with this. That is the reason why Kamala Das is such a well-known poet. She can talk about this in her poem. Now, no full stops. What does that mean? It is an ongoing chain of thought. It's one chain of thought. She is preoccupied with this thought. This is what is going through her head throughout the journey to the airport and at the airport, and probably, because we have ended with ellipsis, probably for days after that. So there is that for you. My Mother at 66 is done.
If you want a video on a particular topic, let us know in the comment section below. And kindly visit our website raretutorial.com to know more. Thank you for watching the video. For more such educational content, please like, share and subscribe to our channel.